Story 1. The Cabin by the Lake. It was the summer after sophomore year, and Ethan could already tell it was going to be one of those trips he'd never forget. At 21, with college stressing him out and life feeling too heavy, he wanted nothing more than a week of peace. Just him, his closest friends, and a rented cabin deep in the forests of northern Michigan, right beside a lake so still it looked like glass in the morning. His friends, Ryan, Jenna, and Chris, were just as eager. They'd pooled their money together for the rental, bought groceries, fishing gear, and way too much beer. The idea was simple: campfires at night, swimming in the lake, hiking in the woods, and disconnecting from the chaos of city life. When they first pulled up to the cabin, it looked perfect. The place was tucked away at the end of a dirt road, surrounded by pines that smelled like resin and damp earth. The lake stretched out just 50 feet from the porch, its surface shimmering in the late afternoon sun. Ethan remembered saying, "This is heaven, guys," and the others agreed. The first 2 days were everything they'd hoped for. They swam in the lake during the afternoons, barbecued hot dogs, and told dumb stories around the fire at night. Ryan even brought his guitar, strumming until the embers glowed red and the stars burned bright above. But the third night, that's when things started to change. They were sitting around the fire, laughing about something Jenna had said, when Ethan heard a noise coming from the lake. At first, it was subtle, a soft ripple, like a fish breaking the surface. He glanced over, but all he saw was the dark water reflecting the moon. Then it happened again, louder this time. A splash. Everyone went quiet. "What was that?" Chris asked, lowering his beer. "Probably a deer," Ryan said, though his voice lacked confidence. But then, they all heard it. A sound none of them could easily explain. It wasn't a splash anymore. It was breathing. Slow, heavy, almost deliberate. Ethan picked up the flashlight beside him and aimed it toward the water. At first, he didn't see anything. The beam cut across the lake's surface, glinting off the ripples. Then the light caught something that made his stomach drop, a man's head, just above the surface. Motionless, staring directly at them. "What the hell?" Jenna whispered, her voice trembling.
The man didn't move.
He didn't blink. His face was pale, his hair slicked back with water. Ethan's first instinct was to shout, "Hey, who are you?" No answer. Instead, the man slowly sank beneath the water, vanishing into darkness without a trace. Panic broke out instantly. Jenna screamed. Ryan cursed and dropped his guitar. Chris grabbed a stick from the fire pit like it would somehow help. Ethan kept the flashlight trained on the water. But there was nothing. Just ripples spreading outward, fading into stillness. They retreated into the cabin, slamming the door and locking it. Every window was checked, every curtain drawn. The night dragged on as they whispered about what they had seen. "It had to be some crazy swimmer," Ryan said, pacing the living room. "Maybe some drunk guy from another cabin." "There are no other cabins," Jenna snapped. "The nearest rental is 10 miles down the road. You saw how empty it was when we drove in." Chris was quiet, staring at the window. "What if he's still out there?" No one slept much that night. Every creak of the cabin, every rustle of the wind in the trees, felt like footsteps. Ethan sat up in bed until the first light of dawn spilled through the curtains. The next morning, they searched the shoreline. Nothing. No footprints, no boats, no sign that anyone had been there. The water was calm and still, like nothing had happened at all. They tried to brush it off, pretending it was just some weird hallucination, but the unease lingered. The fourth night, none of them wanted to sit by the fire, so they stayed inside, playing cards and keeping the curtains shut. But around midnight, Ethan made the mistake of glancing out the window. His heart nearly stopped. There was someone standing at the edge of the lake. "Guys," he whispered, his throat dry. "Come here." The others rushed over. Together, they stared into the darkness. And there he was, the same man, standing waist-deep in the water, facing the cabin. This time, they could see him more clearly. His grin stretched unnaturally wide, his teeth reflecting the moonlight. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there. "Call the cops!" Jenna hissed, fumbling for her phone. No signal. They all checked their phones. 0 bars. The nearest town was 20 miles away. For the rest of the trip, they refused to leave the cabin after dark. During the day, they stayed busy, fishing, hiking, anything to keep their minds off the figure in the lake. But each night, like clockwork, he returned. Always at the water's edge, always staring. On their last morning, they packed their things as fast as they could. None of them had slept. None of them wanted to spend another night there. As Ethan loaded the last bag into the car, he couldn't help but look back one final time. The lake was calm, the sun glittering across its surface, and then he saw him. In broad daylight, the man stood waist-deep in the water, his pale face turned up toward Ethan. He was grinning wider than ever, his eyes unblinking. Ethan froze. He wanted to shout, but no sound came. Then Ryan grabbed his arm. "Ethan, let's go!" They piled into the car and sped off, the dirt road kicking up dust behind them. No one looked back again. To this day, Ethan swears it wasn't a prank, wasn't a dream. And sometimes, when he closes his eyes at night, he still sees that pale face grinning at him from the water. Story 2. The Highway Rest Stop. The desert at night was a lonely place. Miles of nothing but sand, scrub, and jagged black silhouettes of mountains. Samantha had never seen stars this bright before, millions scattered across the Arizona sky. She should have felt awe. Instead, she felt uneasy. She and her boyfriend Luke had been driving cross-country all day, heading from California to Texas. Around 2 in the morning, exhaustion finally hit. When they spotted a glowing sign for a rest stop, they agreed to pull in. The place was nearly deserted. One flickering streetlight, a couple of vending machines, and a restroom building with peeling paint. An old pickup truck sat at the far end of the lot, but no one was inside. "I'll use the restroom," Samantha said, grabbing her phone. "You want anything from the machine?" "Nah," Luke yawned. "I'll stretch my legs." Inside, the women's restroom smelled faintly of bleach and desert dust. Samantha chose the middle stall, locking the door. The place was silent except for the buzzing fluorescent light above. Then, she heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Someone entering. She glanced under the stall. A pair of dirty boots appeared, stopping right in front of her. Her chest tightened. Whoever it was didn't move, didn't say anything. Just stood there, facing her stall. Hello?" she whispered. No answer. The boots shifted slightly. Then, after several seconds that felt like forever, they turned and walked out. Samantha's pulse hammered. She hurried out, but the restroom was empty. She rushed back outside. Luke looked up from leaning on the car. Everything good? There was someone in there, she said, her voice shaking. I swear someone was standing outside my stall. Luke frowned. I didn't see anyone come out. They didn't waste time. Samantha climbed into the passenger seat, locking the door immediately. Luke started the car. As they pulled back onto the highway, Samantha glanced into the side mirror. The old pickup truck's headlights blinked on. It pulled out, following them. At first, they told themselves it was coincidence. The highway stretched empty in both directions. Maybe the driver just happened to be leaving too. But after 10 minutes, the truck stayed directly behind them. No headlights. Just a dark silhouette in the rear view. Luke's hands gripped the wheel tighter. This guy's on us. Why aren't his lights on? Samantha whispered. The truck stayed close, tailing them through the endless desert road. Speed up, she said. Luke pressed the gas, the engine roaring. The car hit 80, then 90. The truck matched their speed. Jesus Christ, Luke muttered. For the next 20 minutes, it was a nightmare chase. Every turn they took, the truck stayed glued to them. When Luke tried to slow, it slowed too. When he swerved, it swerved. Finally, red and blue lights appeared in the distance. A highway patrol car parked on the shoulder. Luke flashed his brights desperately. As soon as the truck saw it, it braked hard, made a sudden U-turn, and sped back into the darkness. By the time they pulled up to the trooper, the desert was empty again. The officer listened to their story, then nodded grimly. You're lucky. We've had incidents, people disappearing around these rest stops. If you hadn't seen us, well, he trailed off. Samantha never forgot that night. To this day, she avoids stopping on lonely highways after dark. Story 3. The Summer Rental House. Florida in July was humid, sticky, and full of tourists. But for 4 friends, Maya, Tyler, Brooke, and Josh, it was paradise. They had found a beach house online for half the usual price. Ocean view, big balcony, 3 bedrooms. The photos looked incredible. When they arrived, though, something felt off. The place looked just like the listing, but there were odd details. Every window had heavy locks on the outside. The basement door was nailed shut. And inside, the furniture looked slightly wrong, like it had been staged quickly. Still, the beach was only steps away, so they shrugged it off. The first night passed quietly, but at exactly 3 a.m., Maya woke to the sound of footsteps, heavy, deliberate, upstairs. She froze. Everyone else was asleep in their rooms. Slowly, she sat up, holding her breath. The steps creaked across the floorboards, then stopped outside her door. Her heart pounded. The doorknob rattled softly. Then, nothing. In the morning, she told the others. Tyler laughed nervously. Old house, wood settles. You scared yourself. But on the second night, Brooke woke up screaming. She swore she had heard someone unlocking the front door. Josh checked, but the door was still bolted. They tried to laugh it off again. Until the third night, Maya was half asleep when she heard it again. The creak of footsteps. This time, she wasn't alone. Tyler, sleeping beside her, jolted awake too. Do you hear that? He whispered. The sound came closer, down the hall. Then the front door clicked. Maya shot up. That's the door. They grabbed their phones, but when Josh tried to call 911, no service. Suddenly, the door creaked open. A figure stepped inside, a man wearing a mask. "Run!" Tyler shouted. They bolted, barefoot, straight out the back sliding door. They didn't stop until they reached the beach road and flagged down a passing car. When police searched the house, they found hidden cameras tucked in the vents. The rental had been a trap. Someone had been listing it online to lure in tourists, then breaking in at night. The listing disappeared the next day. None of them ever stayed at a too good to be true rental again.